Well, yeah, just wrapped up spring football. Man, that was a long off season. I can tell you that. I talked a little bit about yesterday on how that was the longest strength and conditioning segment we've ever done before. Adding 2 more weeks, and then starting after spring break, and then having a 2 week pause. That's a lot of strength and conditioning in spring football, and finals actually start up next week. So I think these kids are excited to wrap up this semester and kind of get away for a little bit and enjoy their time off. So as you guys probably know, the month of May is the time that these kids have off to go and see their family and enjoy a little time away from the facility. So I think they're excited to go. But overall, I thought we accomplished what we needed to do. We talked about the continuity between the coaching staff and just getting on the same page and experimenting with new formations and sets and type of plays and different blitzes and fronts, and we got a lot of tape to study on moving forward, and that's what we'll do as a coaching staff in the month of May is kind of look at what we put on tape the entire spring and see where we take it, and then we're going to finish up recruiting the right way, and we'll have everybody coming in June 1st. And we'll start moving forward with the installations June 1st. So you got 2 months of strength and conditioning over the summer, and then fall camp is here. So, we've been calling it, quarters of preparation. So we're really at halftime right now. The first quarter was that strength and conditioning, and the second quarter of preparation was spring ball. So our third quarter is going to be our summer conditioning stuff. So. Once we get that accomplished, and we'll move on to fall camp, and we'll be ready to kick this thing off. So, really proud of these guys. Put in a lot of great work, and I think you guys are going to see all this work really pay off for these kids. So, questions?
How much further along do you feel like the team is at this point compared to last year when you didn't get a full spring period in?
We got a ton of work in over. We had 9 new bodies that literally we could go out there and play right now. So we're way ahead. We got to put in short yardage situations and goal line and score zone and 2 minute. We got some of those reps in, and we worked a lot of different scenarios. And these kids at least got to study it, and we got to coach it. Where that's what you missed last year. We had 5 days of practice last year, which we only went full pads. I think one of them. Out of the 5, and you had 2 helmets practice and 2 uppers practices. So, we got to see some of these kids. When you're doing controlled settings like we've done the past 4 days, it's really hard to get true evaluations of if these kids can tackle or not. But I think we got a lot of those evaluations early in the spring in those first 7 practices and throughout the course of the spring game. So, kids, it's not even close to where we are now compared to what we were last spring.
Over this spring practice, which position group have you seen take the most steps forward, and what do you think is a group that needs to keep improving on?
I think offensively speaking, I think the tight ends took a lot of strides forward. They their weight gain and just how we're starting to experiment with 2 tight ends on the field. So I'm really proud of that group and where it's at. Receiver room we need to get more depth. We know the Barbies and the Javen Banks of the world right now, but you've seen Chandler Spites and Drew Jackson and Waddell had a glimpse of him in the spring game, but we need a lot more depth in that room, and that's the room that we're going to challenge probably the most out of anybody. And defensively speaking, I was pleased with the young linebackers, just where they're going. I do think the DB room has improved a lot. Really would like to see them keep improving and moving forward, but I thought we made a lot of strides at that linebacker and that D-line position. So.
Coach, tell us a little bit about these wide receivers. I'm talking to them today.
Yep.
Where do you feel like they made some strides this spring?
Yeah, who you got today? Chandler and Jay.
Jay Banks.
So yeah, Chandler and Jay Banks. I'm saying those 2 have had a great spring and really had a lot of momentum in those last few games. Going into the off season. Jay Banks I think is playing at a very high level right now. And it's good, just seeing the mindset that he has. He's very confident in what he does, and he's starting to make a lot of plays. And Chandler, Tweeter, he's the best one. He is a team player. He's a very selfless guy. He goes 100 miles per hour. He's going to do all the dirty work that a lot of receivers don't want to do. He's going to block for you all. He's going to be very selfless, and He's a guy that always ends up on the field and ends up making plays for us. So you get to talk to those two guys today. Love both those guys. They're very passionate about this team, and they're going to do a lot of great things.
I remember you last year saying, Jamie didn't get off to the high start, but he kind of worked his way through special teams and ended up getting a lot of time on the field eventually. Tell us about that season for him and what you've seen since the end of the season from him.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning of the year last year, Javen was going through some injuries, and we're creating a culture on offense. You've got to practice and you got to earn your stripes to get out there, and he recognized that, he knew that, and he got on the field in a way of special teams at the start and was making a lot of plays on special teams, and to me, you got to be rewarded that way, and he ended up working himself into a role where he was a dominant outside force for us last year, and ended up catching a lot of touchdown passes in those last few games of the year, and just really pleased with where that kid is. It's a great story because he's really showed up every single day and he's worked, and had a great off season, and you can see it, like all that work, he just keeps getting better every single day he steps out on that field.
You have with Coach Gamble and Coach Turner coming into being the new additions to the coaching staff. Now you've got a full spring practice. What's your initial thoughts about them now that you've kind of got to work with both of them?
Yeah, I think both of them are great additions to our program. They bring a lot of experience, and like I said about like Coach Gamble, he's been a coordinator before. He was a coordinator for 10 years, so he brings a different perspective to the game where there's good dialogue on how you can find out how an offense is attacking the defense and how you're going to complement that and shut it down. And Coach Gamble, you can see the continuity of that defense coming together just with his addition. And then Coach Turner, again, he's considered one of the best O-line coaches in the business, so very fortunate to have him here, and he does an unbelievable job with those guys, and you can see a big difference in the O-line play from last year going into this next year.
I know you mentioned May's kind of the time for the players to get away from here, but it sounds like the coaching staff's going to stay pretty busy.
Over the next, there'll be some times where they can get be able to kind of go handle some personal business over the next month, but really we got to wrap up this finals with these kids, make sure that they finish up their academic work in the proper manner, and then once we kind of get the kids off on their own, then we can have about a week, 2 weeks, just to kind of wind down a little bit. But we'll start it all back up at the 1st of June because you start camps the first time that we can have kids on campus and actually talk with them. So you got visits and you got individual evaluation camps, and we'll also be running around the state too, getting the evals of other. It's actually interesting because you can look at high school kids, junior college kids, and four-year transfers in an evaluation. So it's new to everybody in the entire country, but at least we'll have an opportunity to get our eyes on some kids and at least get them here to San Marcos. So really the month of June is where we work pretty hard as a staff, and then I try to give them some time off in July right before we hit the grind of the season and fall camp starts.
Is it going to be a big adjustment having people back, being able to bring in recruits onto campus as opposed to not being able to this last year?
Yeah, I think so. Like they're starting new rules. You can do individual, camps. Like just for you can do a camp for one person if you want to. So it's there's going to be a lot of dialogue in place. We have to communicate well as a staff to make sure we're on the same page because there's a lot of blanket waivers and COVID protocols and policies and a lot of moving parts of that. So we just got to make sure we're on the same page and try to get as many evaluations as we possibly can.
And I guess another wrinkle is the junior JUCO. They're still playing their football season kind of in the spring, along with FCS. How does that change your whole recruiting strategy when there's another season just seemingly kind of going ahead?
We've been evaluating all junior college and FCS programs. It's really like you just only evaluate the junior college kids and the people that are in the portal. I think it's just interesting that they're having seasons right now because you look at some of these kids, they're going to play. If they these junior college kids will play, say they play 10 to 12 games right now, and then they go off to a college immediately because they're wrapping up their seasons right around this weekend, and then go to a new school and you'll end up playing 24 games in a year. That's a lot for these kids, but it's just the way times are right now. So we just got to be ready for it all.
Does that concern you? When you see a JUCO player having played a lot of games and there's potentially playing 24 at least in the span of a year. Does that Does that concern you at all? Or
No,
they just,
not really. You know, it's just, you know, it's the wear and tear of the body for sure. But they'll have some time off. They finish up now. They're gonna have, you know, about 3 months to recover before fall camp. So that's a pretty good down period.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right. What you guys?